Is there a problem at Lucasfilm?
Shall we play a game? Oh.
So before I get started, let me just first say, I'm not going to get angry or rant in this video. There's plenty of that stuff out there on the internet now, but that's not what this is going to be about. I just want to talk through kind of my feelings and where I'm at with Star Wars. All in all, the situation that I'm about to discuss honestly just makes me sad. I saw Star Wars in a theater in a small town in Michigan when it released in 1977. I was 8 years old in the second grade. I remember that feeling, even at that young age, that just a small part of a much bigger story had been told. Lucas did an incredible job of giving us a glimpse into a massive universe full of wonder and adventure. A few years later, when The Empire Strikes Back released, we got to see some of our favorite characters again. Han, Luke, Leia, and Chewie were all back for the next part of the adventure. You ever notice that sometimes feelings almost have like a taste to them? Like some great dish your grandmother made when you were a little kid, and even though you haven't had it in like 20 years, you can still recall that taste like you had just eaten it yesterday. I can still recall those feelings I had for the Star Wars universe and its characters back when I was a little kid. I can recall that feeling as if I just felt it for the first time yesterday. The prequels then released between 1999 and 2005. Star Wars was back in a big way. I had some issues with those films, but I enjoyed them. However, not nearly as much as the original trilogy. I had small kids of my own at the time, and it was a lot of fun watching them become Star Wars fans. The Force Awakens was released in 2015. This was going to be a Disney production since Lucas had recently sold Lucasfilm to the mouse. I was excited to see some old characters back in a major film, along with some new heroes and villains. I enjoyed that film. I guess mostly I was just happy to see Star Wars back on the big screen again. And I loved seeing Han and Chewie again, although I wasn't crazy about that whole thing with, Han being stabbed by his son with a lightsaber. It was a little tough for me to watch. But even though I enjoyed that film, something seemed disconnected from the rest of the films in some way. As the next two movies released, I tried to ignore the buzz online and just go see them as they released without any bias. There were some elements of those films that I liked. I guess I didn't mind so much that Luke was now a bitter and jaded old man who milks giant walruses for his afternoon protein shakes, or that Rey and Kylo were mostly just scared teenagers. But by the time I saw Rise of Skywalker, I had become disinterested. So it's no secret that the sequel trilogy had a lot of critics and kind of split the fan base. Many were especially disappointed with the treatment of Luke in The Last Jedi. That film did get a lot of negative feedback from a big chunk of the fan base. Of course, you can track this down online. It's all over YouTube and social media and everywhere on the net. But there was a pretty big chunk of the fandom that really didn't appreciate the entire sequel trilogy, specifically The Last Jedi. Now, honestly, I don't hate those films. I just never really had the urge to go back and watch them. I'm just not a super emotional person when it comes to this kind of stuff. If I like something, I'll keep watching it. If I don't, I won't. And I don't know if this was on purpose, but I never ended up collecting any Star Wars sequel trilogy swag. Like all the stuff that I've purchased is from, most of it actually from the original trilogy, and a couple of little pieces from the prequels. Want to see my lightsabers? I love this one. This is my favorite though. It's Luke's from Return of the Jedi. In the fall of 2019, Disney released the Mandalorian series, and something really cool happened to me personally. That feeling was back. This stuff just tasted like the old Star Wars with a positive twist. I really enjoyed seasons 1 and 2. I still keep in touch with some childhood friends regularly, some guys that I grew up with. We connect online for gaming regularly. We play a little D&D and sometimes just hook up on Discord to chat for a while. And for the season 2 finale, we had arranged to watch it together via a browser-based program called 27. This application allows you to watch videos online with friends, and you can see each other provided everybody has webcams. I'm so glad we did this. It was amazing to see the faces of my childhood friends light up when Luke returned at the end. Man, I had goosebumps. When that gloved hand dropped into the shot with the hilt of his lightsaber revealed, it was a great moment. It brought back memories of running around our yards 40 years ago with our flashlights pretending to save the universe. Good stuff. The Mandalorian got me more interested in checking out what others were saying about it online. I had understood that there were many fans that really disliked the sequel series and had been critical of those films on social media, YouTube, etc. What I didn't realize was that the employees at Lucasfilm were engaging some of those fans in some really unsavory ways. Official employees of Lucasfilm on official social media accounts tearing into fans and publicly berating them. Again, this stuff is all over the internet. You can go find it for yourself. But let me just say, I find this behavior to be incredibly unprofessional. And in my opinion, it's very non-Disney. Let me explain what I mean by that. After holding annual passes and visiting the various parks in Orlando several times, I can't imagine coming back from the park one day, opening a social media app, and then posting something along the lines of, "Oh, that ride was awful. Wasted time in line for a bad experience. Terrible stuff." And then sometime later see a response from a Disney engineer from his official Disney account publicly mocking me for that opinion. I mean, park employees are even trained to be so polite in all circumstances. Why are these lines so long? Why do you all let so many people into this park? We have to stand in line for hours just to ride a silly ride. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry you're having a less than magical experience. Here's a coupon for a free Mickey Mouse ice cream bar. Have a magical day. Yes, have a magical day, which I'm actually told by some insiders that's actually inside speak to an irate park goer for F you. So looking into this led to discovering that Lucasfilm does seem to lean toward a particular political and cultural ideology. And anyone expressing or having a counter perspective or appearing to have a counter perspective is generally disliked, to put it mildly, by the execs there. It's no news to me that those in film production have some pretty strong political views. Many of them have been pretty vocal about it over the last several years. That stuff is all over the internet as well. But I realize that those folks are eccentric and never really paid much attention to their comments. I guess I even expect that kind of behavior to some extent. Me, I just like to go watch a great movie or show, and I don't really care if the producers or actors rant on social media. All that brings us to the firing of Gina Carano. A recent Forbes article's headline reads, "Disney's firing of Gina Carano is confusing and hypocritical, lacking sound management." I tend to agree. You can look up the details of the controversy surrounding her dismissal from Disney. Like much of the content I'm referring to, it's all over the internet. Let's just say that there's plenty of evidence, primarily supplied by Lucasfilm employees themselves, all over social media, YouTube, and other places, to definitively say that this was indeed highly hypocritical. And quite frankly, the way Lucasfilm handled her firing and the statements they made about her afterwards were just plain vicious. So what do I think of all this? Well, it's pretty simple. You know, Disney, Lucasfilm, I don't hate you or your company or any of the employees. I don't wish for anything bad to happen to any of them or for any of them to get fired. I will say I really enjoyed The Mandalorian. You'd captured something really magical and precious. And for a while, I felt like a kid again, and I know a lot of fans felt the same way. But when your employees act the way they do publicly against the fan base, and when you treat people like Gina the way you did, you send a message to people like me. And that message is, you don't like me. I don't see the world exactly the way you do. And you believe that because of that, it makes me not valuable. It's probably obvious to you by now from my tone. I'm not really upset about this. I'm not freaking out about it. I'm not going to go on some rant on social media. I'm, I guess, sad and disappointed because I was really enjoying The Mandalorian and I was looking forward to more content like it. Living here in Central Florida, I really enjoyed going to your parks. But honestly, I can live a perfectly happy and healthy and full life without consuming any more of your content. I live 40 minutes from your parks in Orlando, and I won't be going there with my family anymore. I will not be renewing my subscription to Disney Plus, and while it's sitting there waiting to expire, I won't be watching any of the content. I created this channel to share things I love and to create an archive of those things. Not to rant or be angry or call out anybody. I guess what I mostly wanted to say is maybe there's somebody over there at Disney that doesn't think it's right to treat fans this way. And maybe there's somebody over there that can see that the firing of Gina Carano and the way she was treated was really a slap in the face to a lot of us. Oh, and one more thing, Disney. Have a magical day.